it's Melissa in the kitchen, or in the kitchen with Melissa, and it's a fantastic day today. So my husband's 60th birthday is tomorrow. And when I asked him if he wanted me to make him a cake, so that's tradition. When the kids were younger, I'd be like, okay, what kind of cake do you want? I'm not a baker by any means, but I always wanted to be sure that I made a special birthday cake. So the kids would say, I want a Powerpuff Girl cake, or I want a Sonic the Hedgehog cake, or whatever kind of cake. And I try my best. Some did not turn out that great, but it was fun, and that's what the kids wanted. So this year, I asked Mike, and typically he'll go, let's just go for dinner. This year, he said, I would like a cake. I would like a pistachio cake. I would like a chocolate cake. And I would like a carrot cake. All 3 layers. I want a 3-layer cake of pistachio, chocolate, and carrot. And I'm like, okay, but carrot? I'm sorry, which one of these doesn't belong? It's kind of carrot cake. So how about, this is my negotiation tactic, how about, after all, it is his birthday, we do pistachio, chocolate, and yellow, because yellow then would be kind of neutral. Oh, and I forgot to tell you, he also specifically wanted cream cheese frosting and raspberry filling. So in one layer, it's going to be cream cheese frosting. In between layers, and then the next one, it'll be raspberry filling, and then I'm going to do cream cheese frosting on the whole thing. So I'm like, okay, let's do this. I don't know how it's going to turn out, but we're going to do that. So for the pistachio cake, I need a classic white base, so I've got that. And then we've got our yellow cake, and then we have our devil's food cake. So I am making the cakes out of a box, that is true, and then I'm going to put them together and layer them. So before I get started here, I was thinking, how can I turn this into connect it with Grace and Salt leadership? And I thought, well, we've got 3 different layers that are really pistachio, chocolate, and yellow, kind of different spectrums. Like, right, you wouldn't normally put these 3 layers together in one cake, would you? So I thought, okay, well, how about sense of belonging? How about team building? How about, maybe the pistachio really gets along with the chocolate cake, but not so much with the yellow cake. Or the yellow cake really gets along with the chocolate, but maybe not so much with the pistachio. So how can we think about that from the standpoint of our teams? Maybe there's somebody in your team where you're like, okay, I kind of like them or whatever. I get along with them. It's fine, but I don't necessarily want to go to dinner with them, right? That kind of thing. Well, I think that's how pistachio feels. Maybe about yellow, but I'm not really sure. Anyway, so I'm going to be making these cakes, and we're going to be talking about team building and the sense of belonging, because that piece of it is really, really important. So that's what we're going to be talking about today as we make our 3-layer cake, birthday cake for my husband. So I'm going to start out here with the chocolate cake, because that's going to be the easiest. That is going to come straight off of the box recipe, where the pistachio cake is actually a secret recipe of my sister-in-law's, and it is amazing. So I'm going to mix this together, and then I'll be back. Okay, so I have all of the cakes, I was going to say baked. I don't have them baked. I have all the cakes beaten up, everything's together. And but here's what I'm doing. And so I've got my chocolate, I've got my white, which I put some chocolate chips in here as a suggestion from my daughter, because I had some mini chocolate chips. I may have already told you that. And then I have my pistachio in its plate, in its pan. Now I put some parchment paper there, even though I've greased the pan, mainly because it's just easier to get out. Here's the challenge. And so if you've been following me, you know that I don't necessarily follow directions. And because this is a three-layer cake, I decided to do it in square pans because I didn't have 3 round pans. So I'm going to do a square cake, but all of these recipes, especially the pistachio one, calls for 9 by 13. And so I've got too much mix, and I don't know if it's going to cook right in the oven. So let's hope that it does, because this is my husband's birthday cake and I want it to be fantastic. For the chocolate, I know that will come out okay because I saved some of the batter and I made cupcakes out of it. So the cupcakes will be done in 10 seconds. Anyway, so we've got pecans on here. We've got mini chocolate chips in this other one. We've just got a lot of diversity. There's our cupcakes. We've got a lot of diversity on this team today in this cake. And so I want to talk a little bit about sense of belonging. So in my book, Grace and Salt, anyway, when it comes to sense of belonging, whether you're leading a team officially, like you're the boss, or whether you're on a team, doesn't matter. We're all leaders, and we all want that feeling of a sense of belonging. And so does this cake. So does the pistachio cake. So does the chocolate cake. It needs to all fit together. It all needs its own sense of belonging, so it's one cohesive team. And I think I had the pleasure this week of going to an event, the Chamber of Commerce, and I heard this lady speak. Her name was Becca Stevens, and she runs an incredible nonprofit. But she was talking about leading with love. And many times when you say leading with love, it's like, oh, really? We got a business to run. I don't have time for love. But wouldn't that be awesome if your team was so cohesive that everybody loved each other? And I mean, when I say, yes, of course, you love your coworkers. No. I mean, you've got their back. I mean, when they're on vacation and something happens, because it never fails, right? It never fails. When you go on vacation, you take a day off, either a mistake you made months before or some special thing comes up and nobody else knows about it, so they think that you've made a mistake. Hold that thought. Okay, I'm back with my cupcakes. So this is why I need like a production person so they can take the cupcakes out. I mean, I do all this by myself in my kitchen. Anyway, so wouldn't that be awesome if you took a day off and you knew you were comfortable, you could relax because you knew that if something came up, that either you made a mistake or there was some kind of weird thing, that your boss had your back or your coworkers had your back. They'd figure it out for you when you got back. If you made a mistake, you'd figure it out and learn from it and move on. Wouldn't that be awesome if we all loved our colleagues that much that if they fell down, we'd pick them up without any issue? And I mean every single member of your team. I'm sure you have that one person. I know I do, or did when I was in corporate America. I have that one person that, hey, I'd go to the mat for. I would absolutely just do whatever I had to save her. Absolutely. But not everybody felt that way, right? Well, wouldn't that be awesome if you did? And that's what we're talking about today, is the sense of belonging. So as these as these cakes are cooking, I got 30 minutes for them to cook. I want you to be thinking about, this is our homework, this is an interactive session today in the kitchen with Melissa. I want you to be thinking about what is it that you could do as a team building event to help all of your department members, whether you're the boss or whether you're a colleague, which I like better. I like better that somebody on the team equal their peers, takes the lead. So what are you going to do to take the lead and build your team, right? That sense of belonging. What activity are you going to arrange? Are you going to suggest to your boss so that you can build a sense of belonging and you can lead with love or with grace? In my case, when it comes to my book, Grace and Salt. All right, so think away and I'll be right back. Well, I'm making the raspberry filling, which I've never made before. And so I just got this easy recipe off of the internet. And so it starts with frozen raspberries, and I have to tell you, I don't know, you can't smell it obviously, but it really smells fantastic. So you're just melting down the raspberries until they break up, and then you add some cornstarch and some sugar and some water, and it thickens up, and you've got your raspberry filling. So I'm looking forward to tasting it and for putting it and for using it. So I am a little bit of a risk taker nowadays when it comes to baking and cooking, but my family has been so gracious, and well, they've been on this ride with me, and I think that's fantastic. I love them dearly. So, have you thought about your team building exercise or how you're going to make sure everybody on the team feels a sense of belonging? I got a question for you. What if you don't feel a sense of belonging? What then? What are you going to do in order to become more a part of the team? What are you going to do? What could you do? I want you to think about that for a bit. Okay, here we are. You guys got ideas? Have you thought through how am I going to get that sense of belonging either for yourself or for other people on your team or in your company? Well, while you were gone, I just have a couple tips before we get back into sense of belonging, and that is I've made the raspberry filling and it's worked out really well. However, I decided to have the recipe because it called for 4 cups, and that was like 4 bags of frozen raspberries, which was way too much, so I halved it. I think it'll be all right. So I also halved the cornstarch. So you take the cornstarch and you mix it with water because that's the thickening agent. Only it didn't really thicken, so I had to put more cornstarch in. So if your raspberry filling is a little too thin, then put more cornstarch in it, or the cornstarch and water combination, and then put it in there, stir it up, let it cool, stirring occasionally. So anyway, so that's what I did. It worked out quite well. So I think it's of a good consistency. That will be a nice, right? So it's kind of a nice filling. And I tasted it, and it tastes really good. So it's not too sweet because I was afraid of that. And then my other concern, which was my recipes are for 13 by 9 inch pan, right? And then as I was dumping the batter into this pan here, I thought, oh, there's not a lot left. I'll just put the rest of it in. However, you do need to, it didn't work quite right. So the cake is done, but I had to leave it in a little longer. So I don't know if the edges might be a little bit burned. I'm sorry, Mike, if it is. But anyway, so the pistachio cake, what we're going to do here is we're just going to put this fork into it all over the place, because we made a special butter powdered sugar substance, and we're going to pour it, hopefully I have enough here, so it doesn't look like I have very much, but we're going to pour it over the cake. And so it's going to get into those holes, and you want to do this when it's hot. And so this is butter, oh yeah, there's plenty here, and powdered sugar, with maybe some water, I don't remember, so don't quote me on any of that. But you want to poke holes into the top of it so that it could run throughout. And so what I did the first time when I poked holes, I didn't poke enough holes, so this substance is like hanging out on top, this liquid mixture. Sounds better than substance, right? Anyway, so here we go. And so we're going to let it cool now, and then it is done. But now that I look at it, I mean, it looks gorgeous, right? Whoops, that was the wrong way to do that. Okay, here we go. So yes, I mean, it looks gorgeous, right? So now that I see it, I kind of think it needs to be on top. If I put it on the bottom layer, then you know, we're missing the beautifulness of the pecans and all of that. So I'm not sure which way I'm going to go, but I want to know if you have been thinking about how you're going to create a sense of belonging on your team. And if you already have a sense of belonging, like your team is rocking it, find a team in your organization that isn't, and see if you can kind of build some camaraderie and build some sense of belonging there. And how do you do that? That's probably another video. All I want to talk about today is getting that feeling, sense of belonging, so that we can have a department that leads with love or leads with grace. That's what we were talking about before. So we give, and when I say grace, I don't mean graceful like a ballerina. I mean leading with grace, where you're giving people the benefit of the doubt before you jump to conclusions, right? You're listening to understand. You really want to know what that other person's opinion is before you respond. Then when you respond in a respectful manner, whether you agree or you disagree. All right, so hang tight, because I'm almost done with this episode of In the Kitchen with Melissa. Okay, we're back. So I ran out of powdered sugar, and so ran to the store. You guys ran with me. Thank you very much. And now we are back, and we are going to assemble our cake and end our time here together. And so I'm just curious, what do you think? Have you figured out what you should do as far as incorporating and collaborating and bringing a sense of belonging into your department or into your team, into your company? There are some great ways. So I'm just gonna, this is cream cheese frosting that I made. So I am going to frost this. Now this cake is going to be what's called a naked cake because I'm not going to frost all the sides. So I want to get it out to the end here, like way out to the end. Because then I'm going to put another layer. Let's just goop this on here. So I'm going to put another layer on top of this. That'll be the chocolate layer, and then we'll do raspberry, and then we'll do the pistachio. And the pistachio we're just going to leave. All right. So anyway, but here's some ideas that you can do. You can ask, right? So if you don't know, like you've been thinking through this and you're like, I just really don't know. I mean, I might like something that my coworker doesn't like. I mean, what if I bring something up and then they don't like it, or I want to go bowling and they don't like to go bowling or something like that, right? So you can just do a survey. You can ask. How about that? Just ask, right? So here's some ideas from my book on page 36. So here's some ideas. Include an introduction that, to explain the reason behind the questions. Why are you doing this? I think that's going to be pretty good. Don't you think? That's going to be pretty good? All right. So I also wanted to put some I got some more mini chocolate chips, and so I'm just going to put a few mini chocolate chips down here too. Even though the cake itself, the cake batter has chocolate chips in it, I want to put some down here. This will just be a little bit of a surprise to whoever. So I got some sprinkles too, because that's kind of like birthday, right? And for goodness sakes, he's 60. We need to put sprinkles in here. So this is going to go in the center, although this looks really good. This is going to go, this is filling, basically. All right, so we got sprinkles all over. We're going to put some on the outside of the cake just to make it look kind of more decorative. But you can ask, you can do a survey. So you could say, choose one of the, on a scale of 1 to 5, what is the likelihood you'd attend a team building event? Right? On a scale of 1 to 5, what do you think that you would enjoy a team building event? And they can, 1 being will not attend, 5 being, yeah, awesome, when can we go, right? And then the next question you could say, choose one of the following options for a team building event, and then be sure that you're including options that fit within your budget, because is this going to be company sponsored, or are the people who attend, do they have to pay for it? So if you go to it's kind of popular now where you can go to you can make a sign or a board sign, they've got those companies in our town, it's called Erica Board Creations. So you can go there, you can drink some wine, and she teaches you how to create this board, and then you go home with it. Well, that could be a team building event, but is the company going to pay for that, or does the individual have to pay for that? See what I mean? So make sure that whatever you're choosing fits within your budget, and that you're clear whether they have to pay or the company's going to pay. Choose one of the following dates and times of the event. Choose one of the following options. So, okay, I said that again. Be sure to put other. Be sure, because you may put things down, but maybe some other people have different ideas. So be sure to have an other category. Provide additional comments, and then following the team building event, be sure to send a follow-up survey. You want to know how satisfied they were. Would they do it again? Would they invite a friend? Would they? Because that's the thing about sense of belonging is you want to be sure that you are also inclusive of their whole self, right? So maybe it's family friendly, maybe the kids can come, and so it's bringing and inviting all of their people, their tribe, as people say today, to an event, if that makes sense. If that makes sense. But anyway, so there's just send a survey. That's really, really simple. You could do retreats. You could work it around some skill that maybe they need to enhance, whether that's, Excel or Word or whatever. Okay, so now I'm going to put on, see how easy that was when you use parchment paper? So now I'm going to put on the chocolate layer, which is smaller than my, then it's smaller than my vanilla, but whatever. Okay, so now I have my raspberry, so I'm going to put my raspberry on. This is my raspberry filling, which is a lot, and I have an offset spatula, so if you have an offset spatula, be sure to use it. This is a little bit, maybe a little bit runnier than I expected, but that's okay. And with a naked cake, you want to get it all the way out to the edges, and mine's gonna fall over the edges, but that's okay. I'm just gonna take a little bit more here. Oh, Roxy's coming. My kitty cat's coming up. She wants to eat probably. All right, so there we go. Now, this is kind of pretty. What do you think? I mean, it's kind of, I know it's weird. I know that. Now the last layer is our famous pistachio cake. And so it is so moist that it is falling apart. So we are now going to put it on top, and it is not wanting to stay because it's so moist. It's kind of falling apart. Okay, so I don't know about you guys, but this cake is a little crazy, and I'm going to show you. And I don't think it's going to stay for tomorrow, but here it is. Okay, so it looks kind of like a chocolate sandwich, but this is my cake. So happy birthday to my husband. And now we have to, I don't even know, I have a lid for this, and yeah, no, not gonna work. Okay, happy birthday to my husband. Here we go, sense of belonging. Please, I wanna know, DM me, tell me what kind of team building events, or if you have problems yourself, you don't feel like you belong on your team, I will help you brainstorm on ways that you can be more included and be more inclusive to others. All right, I hope everybody has a great day, and thank you so much for joining me in the kitchen. Take care. Okay, here's a blooper. My cake, I really should have put the pistachio on the bottom. It was so moist, and the chocolate cake in the center was not the right size. So, well, I'm gonna turn the camera around so that you can see what happened. Here it is. So unfortunately, and it appears that we're gonna have another piece that's gonna slide off possibly. I'm just gonna leave it as it is and just embrace this really kind of cool design. But lesson learned for sure, and hopefully Mike will enjoy his birthday cake.